Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project. I have Lee Wheelbarger live via Skype tonight, late night. It's like 3 a.m. over there. It's the midnight here. Hey, I'm getting some echo. Turn it down. Lee, thanks for joining us. We're going to be talking about Professor Valentina Zharkova's talk that she just gave at the Global Warming, what is it called? The Global Warming Policy Foundation just moments ago. And the video is up. Less than 1,000 views. But what she tells the public in this video is absolutely startling. It is absolutely corroborating everything that I've been saying on the channel. Lee's been screaming for years. And to add insult to injury, it is my belief that no one's going to do a damn thing about it. Lee thinks the opposite. So we're on the opposite sides of this fence, but we're going to talk about the next 30 minutes are going to blow your mind. Lee, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Diamond. I appreciate you doing this time of night.
Yeah, you're welcome. This is crazy. Now, you watched the whole video. I only watched like 11 minutes of it. So do you want to just give us a quick synopsis of what you heard her say?
Well, this is the crazy part about it. I actually watched it twice because I got it from two separate sources. And in both sources, they blocked out the key information when she went to show the charts. She talks about it, but the Geophysical Union was so shocked by the figures that she showed that they wouldn't post them in the video. And then on the other channel that monitored it, not only did they not show it, but they doubled up the audio and made an echo so you couldn't even hear what she was saying during it. The thing that gets me is I've been following Valentina Zharkova for years. I've interviewed Valentina Zharkova. She was like Galileo. She didn't want to get burned, so she didn't want to come out against the global warming IPCC because that's not her field. But they have done additional mathematics calculations, found the stability of the sun is very solid, but the problem is there are magnetic fields within the sun that go out of phase. The other problem is that our sun does not always sit in the center of our solar system. It moves around. So we've got two really bad things that are coming about to happen. Number one is, of the four magnetic fields in the sun, all four fields are going out of phase. The last time that we had a little ice age, only two fields went out of phase. So now we've got four fields going out of phase, which is much worse. We're talking a 40 to 60% decrease in TSI energy while that's happening. Additionally, when you talk about the Milankovitch cycles and the sun moving around in the center of our solar system, over the next, I think it's 30 or 100 years, our sun in the winter time for the northern hemisphere will be farther away from the sun, or excuse me, our planet Earth will be farther away from the sun in this winter time than it has been in a long, long time. And that will also be, it'll be farther away, which will be the summertime for the southern hemisphere. So the southern hemisphere is not going to warm up during the summertime, and the northern hemisphere is going to freeze beyond anything you could imagine in the wintertime. We're still going to have some hot boiling days through the summertime, so as that it makes it look like that the numbers average out, but the amount of albedo refraction from, or the albedo effect from all of that ice in the northern hemisphere that grows over the winter and all of the additional nucleation in the atmosphere is going to block that out. Plus the UV light is going to change. It's all changing. She laid it all out. The world knows it now. We've got science to prove it. And so if there's ever a moment of which it's the epiphany moment for the world to wake up, this is when they snapped the fingers and said, ta-da, here it is. Now it just sees how long it takes for people to actually get it in their head. But it's out in public now. There's no going back with it.
Yeah, let me interject here. Her initial model was 93% correct. This is equally as good. They laid it out 80 years prior and almost 500 years into the future, 800 years into the future. This mathematical model has been nailing perfectly the prediction better than anyone. In fact, she even jokes that the solar plasma physicists, all of them in the entire field, have been off by almost 90%. Only 4 of over 100 plus models actually predicted cycle 24 to be weaker. Her model is 97% correct, and she is predicting not a grand minima, she is predicting a super grand minima to last 350 to 400 years beginning now. And this shit is about to hit the fan, according to Valentina Zharkova. Will you concur with my assessment there, Lee?
Absolutely, because I mean, she comes flat out and says it's hitting in 2020, and she came out with this, years ago, and said, "Look, we're going to start seeing this by 2015." Well, guess what? We have, and we're now feeling what I've been saying, what John Casey has been saying, Willie soon, you, Dave from Adapt 2030, Christian from Ice Age Farmer. All of us have reviewed this data and seen all of it. And so we've put it together in our heads. We see what she's saying. We see what the people from the Cloud Project at CERN are saying. We see what Heinrich Finn's Mark is saying. We have already done all of the math. And the crazy part about this is there are people in this conference that we'll be able to see here that ask the questions of, well, what effect will global warming or the IPCC's numbers have against this? And in fact, yeah, well, I've already done all that math. If you do, at worst case scenario, a 1.5 watt per square meter increase in heating based upon the CO2. So you say, okay, I got 1.5 watts, so it's going to be about a degree or so C increase in temperature based on CO2. That's fine. But when you take Valentina Zharkova's numbers and the decrease in the sun's output power, and you increase and you calculate in the amount of increased cosmic rays and galactic cosmic rays that are coming into the planet, and the fact that we're at all-time high levels of those already, and the math that she's laying out, you're talking about as much as 8 watts per square meter of loss. So it doesn't matter, even if the IPCC is right, even if the IPCC's worst case scenarios are seen, that's only 1.5 watts per square meter to the plus, and she's 8 watts per square meter to the minus. So there's 6.5 watts minus per square meter loss in TSI to the planet, not counting the obliquity of how far we're going to go out in the wintertime in the northern hemisphere and the summer for the southern hemisphere. So the southern hemisphere is over. They're not going to have hot summers anymore, and we'll have warmer summers, but we're going to freeze our derriere off in the wintertime, and it's going to come faster. So right after the summer solstice, it's going to start getting cooler faster and dropping off in temperature.
Yeah,
I don't know if you want to play this out or how you.
According to her models, cycle 25 is going to be bad, the one we're going into now, and the minimum of this transition is bad. Cycle 26 is going to be non-existent. So by that time, the planet will be completely different. In a decade from now, the planet will be completely different than you know it today, based on her model, which has been 97% accurate.
We have extra grand cycle. These
Yes.
are
And we know she's saying it's going to start kicking it in 2020, which is what I've been saying. I've been saying we would start feeling it before then, just like we are. But, she came right out with the models, said, look, our governments need to work together. We've already calculated up what the crop losses are going to be. There's going to be need to be a lot of sharing of resources back and forth, because a lot of the planet is going to go offline, like I've been saying. She says right in the document, in her speech, that, so it gets colder. You turn the heat up a little bit in your house, but that does nothing for the plants outside that can't grow and die. And we're already seeing the losses all over the world. And she starts, explaining some of the losses and how they had to replant. And I was just talking to some of my friends who harvest massive amounts of soybeans up through the Ohio Valley area. They harvest, each one of those guys brings in like 7,000 acres a year. And he's like, dude, we can't get in the fields. We've had so much rain, And so a lot of the farmers who didn't use a antifungal spray on their soybeans this year are now having problems with fungus getting in on their soybeans because it's been so wet, as opposed to a normal growing season through that region, like I've been predicting for 3 years. So it's here, folks. Nobody can say that we're going to go into a grand solar minimum. We're already in it. So it's just, we're going downhill.
So on the screen
we got
right now,
on the roller coaster.
Lee, I have some of her numbers. The upcoming modern grand minima starting now until 2055. The worst period for shortage of vegetation will be 2028 to 2032. A 4-year shortage in vegetation is a global catastrophe, which means that, and Lee, you and I were talking, by 2025, there should be no more products available to buy, because this news is going to get out. So you need to start buying products now and dedicating your finances to your security, because this shortage of vegetation is, the most modest prediction for the worst case scenario. It'll be much worse than this. So this is just what she's saying. And she says we need intergovernment efforts to avoid disasters, and it has to happen now. It's a unique event. We've been screaming at the top of our lungs for years about this, and hopefully the mainstream will pick up on it. I don't know. You think that it's going to go mainstream quickly, and that we should be taking steps to really secure our preparedness. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Well, it will. It is going to go mainstream. Now, everybody on the global warming side of the house, IPCC, Al Gore, and all of those people who have no idea what they're talking about, they're still going to say, oh, it's global warming. Oh, it's global warming, as they're all getting frostbite. So they can say that. But if you've watched the, HBO and people who have interviewed Trump and so on and so forth, Trump says, look, I want to see all sides. And that's because he has, because I know people who have briefed him. And so he knows about what's going on. He knows about Valentina Zharkova. He knows about John Casey. He knows what we know, okay? Because I know the people that told him that. And I know people who are advisors to him that I've talked to tell him other things. So, he knows what's going on. And that is why he is doing a lot of the things that he's doing behind the scenes and not really talking about it. He's trying to wait until tomorrow, or now today, is over and get the election behind him. And then he can continue to move on in the directions that he needs to go. But we are all screwed, because this will affect every person on the planet. And I don't care who you are. No one on this planet will not be affected. No one who is alive will not be affected by this. If they live past 2020, you're going to be affected. In fact, some people will even be affected before that, and some people are being affected now. There are towns and villages that are being washed away. There are being cities and villages that are being destroyed by hailstorms, atmospheric compression events, otherwise known as rain bombs. There is freezing in places that has never frozen before. We've got snow in places they've never seen snow before. And people are about to see snow like they have never seen in their lives. In the winter time, in Buffalo and other places up north like that, come January, the temperatures will be so brutal that people won't even hardly be able to go outside, especially up in Canada. They have no idea what they are in for, because as we start moving out in the wintertime, farther in this ellipse, farther away from the sun. Now look, normally we are about 93 million miles from the sun. And so, okay, 93 million miles, that's a hell of a long way. It is. But we go around on a circle that is just ever so perfect. It's like standing next to a big bonfire. You got that one spot where it's comfortable. And if you take one step closer to the bonfire, it gets too hot. And if you take another step too far away from the bonfire, it gets cold. Okay? Well, if you can imagine the perfect temperature being 93 feet from that, that's a pretty good ways away. But you could imagine if it's perfect at 93 and you were to move into 91, you would feel it. Or if you would move out to 94, you would feel it. Well, guess what? In the summertime, we're going to keep our 93. But in the wintertime, we're going to go out to 94. So it's going to be colder when we're going out to 94. And it's going to be a lot worse because we're going out that much farther. That's a million miles in reality that we're going out further. And for the smart people who know how to do the math, it is the inverse square root of the distance is the difference. And when you do that calculation of what the wattage is at 1,360 watts per square meter is what we're getting hit now, by some people's calculations, that's a full 5 watts of drop. So we talk about that.
That's a massive amount of drop, and we're talking about that occurring quickly from now to 2020. So you need to get your ducks in a row.
Yeah.
All right, we're 20 minutes in here, Lee. This has been a great primer to the introduction to this material coming out. We're going to be covering it in much greater detail in the coming days. All that I can say based on these mathematical predictions, which have been as accurate as they have been, is that the time is running out to prepare for what's happening. So you should be taking all of your resources. Stop trying to convince your loved ones or whatever. It's unimportant. What's important is your safety and survival in the times coming. Make a plan. Get a bug out plan. Sell your house. Move south. Lee, do you have any parting words?
We're going to cover it tomorrow evening on my show.
Yeah.
I'm planning on playing the video in its entirety, so you're welcome to come by for that. That's why it's going to be a 2-hour show at least to cover the whole thing.
That's at on YouTube. And Inventor Lee Wheelbarger on YouTube. The link will be below.
Yes, thank you. And so we're going to cover it tomorrow night on my show, or tonight on my show. And yeah, it's it's 9 o'clock tonight, so it's already 2:30 in the morning here. So we'll cover it tonight, and everyone needs to pay very close attention to this, because what we are telling you at this very moment is the most important information you will ever learn in your life, because what we are saying right now will change the world as we all know it. And if you do not prepare now, you will not live later. So
Amen to that.
that's about all I can tell you.
Don't be scared. Be prepared. Continue to watch the show for updates, and we're covering the changes worldwide as they occur. And we're going to be Lee's going to be live tomorrow night, 8 Eastern, on his show. Links below, and I'm sure
9 Eastern.
9 Eastern, and there's a lot more information we're going to be covering. Thank you for coming, Lee, and that's a boom.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Peace.